Hey everybody, my name is Jaden and I am currently building out this school bus into my full-time home. And as you can see, I've recently completed mounting all of my solar panels. It's time to start wiring them up and I want to take you along for the ride. So come along and see how I wired up my six 410-watt solar panels to the roof of my school bus conversion. Ooh, the sky looks nice, look at that. I'm going to be wiring up basically everything on the exterior here and ultimately putting wires through a solar entry gland into the bus so that I can essentially be done with the roof for the time being, which will be nice. I'm kind of sick of hopping up here for right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get to that and bring you guys along. Just wanted to show you kind of like the anatomy if you're not familiar with the underside of a panel. It comes with a positive and a negative wire. So here's the positive wire. And the way I know that is it's labeled right here. I should probably double check it with a multimeter, but I haven't quite yet. But this is notated as the positive. And typically the positive is the male end of the MC4 connector. This is an MC4 connector. So typically the positive has the male end, and then here is the negative, it has the female end. That's about it. If you can tell though, these are not very long wires. I have this panel hooking up to that panel and then that panel hooking up to that panel right here. You can imagine these wires aren't going to be long enough to reach each other, at least not without quite a bit of strain on them. So we're going to be making extensions, and I'll go over that in a minute when I actually start doing it. But just keep that in mind, like these wires on the back, they're not very long. So if you're planning your array and there's going to be space in between, plan to make extensions for them. All right, so I'm starting as I'm going, I'm connecting the positives and the negatives to each panel in the series that I'm doing here. It's still a little light out, but it's pretty dark. To be completely honest with you, to be safe, I should put like something to cover this up, like cardboard or a blanket or something, just so I'm not working with any voltage coming from the panels to the wires. But honestly, I'm not overly concerned about it. Just for a safety tip, if you're gonna be wiring these up in any kind of light, maybe cover them up. Here's a positive to a negative connection here, and I'll show you on the next one, but these just snap into place, like really easy, kind of like Legos, just snap together till it clicks, and then boom, you have a really solid connection there. Well, howdy gang. Hopefully you don't go sliding off. It's kind of slick up here. I'm not the pinnacle of safety, if you haven't noticed, so don't just copy what I do. We have a positive male MC4 connector from one of our panels that we're going to be wiring in series, and then we have the negative female MC4 connector for the other panel in the series. So I just wanted to show you how easy it is to connect these two. I mean, you can kind of just see by looking at them. There's no additional wiring necessary if you're just doing one connector to another. All you do is just until it clicks, and that's it. Okay, so here we have 1, 2, 3 panels. This is going to make up one of my 2 series. Those 3 panels are going to make up the other series. So I have my 1 negative female wire here on my last panel. I have this positive to this negative connected. Try not to slip and die. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Dude, I'm like ice skating up here. It's crazy. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna have to call it after this one for tonight. I feel like Wayne Gretzky up here. Look at this. I don't think you're supposed to do that on a roof. But I'm up here. I got my super hot bright lights, and I've got my extension made. So, if you recall, we hooked up these 2 panels. Gosh, I gotta remember now. I think the negative from that panel and the positive of this panel. So we just gotta unhook them real quick. There we go. And then we grab our handy dandy extensions and we go boom. And we go boom. Oh. And look at that. Tons of extra wire here. It's gonna make it nice and clean. I think that's where I'm gonna call it for tonight. I'm gonna come back tomorrow when I can see and do this same thing with those 3 panels that you can't even see right now, and then we'll be rocking and rolling. Oh, it's a new day. Sunny and cold. I'm about to hop up there and basically finish the other half of my solar panels, wiring those together, making my next extension. Okay, so I hope you can see everything on the table well enough. I'm sorry the lighting in here is not very good for recording, but I'm going to show you guys how to make an MC4 connection, and in this particular case, an extension to connect one solar panel to another solar panel in series. And I just want to reiterate, I'm not qualified to teach anybody anything about any of this kind of stuff, so this is just what I'm doing, so do with that information what you will. So on the table here, on the towel, you can see everything that you're going to need to make one of these connections. First and foremost, you're going to need your wire and your MC4 connectors. So each pack of connectors comes with a male and a female connector, along with a male and a female copper pin. So the way you're going to want to make these connectors is actually mixing a female pin with a male connector, and vice versa, a male pin with a female connector. These connectors unscrew just like that. It has built-in strain relief with a little cap on here. It makes a watertight seal. And same with the female connector right here. All you're gonna wanna do, it's really straightforward, a lot more straightforward than it probably looks. You're gonna strip back a little bit of this insulation on this PV wire. You're gonna crimp on one of these pins to the stripped wire. And then you're gonna screw on the connector, and then you're done. Really easy. I'm gonna go ahead and do it for you now. One other thing to note, this is 10 gauge PV wire. Make sure you're getting the right size wire for your application. For this specific application, if you're going to make an extension for a connection between two panels in series, it does not matter what kind of PV wire you use, being positive or negative. You can use either positive PV wire or negative PV wire for this specific instance, because you're just connecting one negative PV wire to another positive PV wire, so it doesn't matter which positive or negative wire you use. On my other connection, I used positive, so I'm just gonna use negative for this example to show that you can do both. You don't need these, but these are really handy for stripping wire. Like, look at this, it's crazy. Get about that much there. You just pull down and boom. Look how clean that is. Well, it was almost super clean. It didn't strip off any wires, so we're good. Just like that. So we have two ends of this PV wire stripped. We are going to take one end. This is the female copper pin. The female copper pin is the bigger and longer one than the male copper pin, just to keep it easy there. We're gonna take one end of our PV wire. We're gonna insert this pin in there. Take our crimpers and crimp this up. Like so. And then to complete this, go ahead and just slide this cap down, slide the connection until it clicks into place like that. And then you just screw this on nice and tight, and boom. That's how you make the one side of the connection, the male side, right there. And now I'm just gonna repeat the process with the female side. So I'm gonna take this pin, insert my wire into the pin, like so, slide this little screw cap on, slide the connector on till it clicks, and then screw this on tight. And there you have it. Sorry about the dogs barking, someone just got home. That is how you make an extension. All right, and then just to show you guys, here is how it's connected. It's just connected from one of my panels to my extension wire that I've just made to another one of my panels. And with that, I have these two 3-panel series wired up. That panel has the positive going to that panel's negative, that panel's positive is going to that panel's negative, and then that panel's positive is free, that panel's negative is free. And mirrored on this side, I'm gonna make 4 long wire connections to go to two 2-to-1 PV connectors. And then those two 2-to-1 PV connectors will ultimately be attached to 2 wires, one positive, one negative, going into the bus. I hope that made sense. It'll make sense once I show you guys, but I'm gonna start making those connections. wire these things up now. Not the ideal weather or time of day to do it, but you know, it's got to get done. I'm gonna start with this little 5-footer going on that positive wire out of this panel. All right, so got that connection made. Gonna bring that over to where my entry gland is gonna be, which is gonna be right about there. All right, I got all my long extensions made and run right down to here, so we're left with 2 negative wires and 2 positive wires. Time to bring those together with some 2-to-1 MC4 connectors. Got my 2-to-1 MC4 connectors. Let's get on up there. All right, that's how it's gonna be brought together. I got both my negative extensions into this 2-to-1, and that's gonna go into my entry gland right there. All right, and there's our positive. All right, I got those all nice and protected in those Ziploc baggies. I'm gonna keep them tucked under that panel till I'm ready to come and put my entry gland in, which is gonna go somewhere under this panel here. A couple recommendations when doing this kind of thing. Try not to do it in the rain and try not to do it in the dark. So that's basically how you wire up some solar panels together, pretty easy. There's a few more things to do though. Next step is going to be to wait until it's dry and light outside, and I can go ahead and put my entry gland in with my positive and negative wire entering into the bus. Here's the entry gland I'm using. Nothing fancy, just a little black plastic gland here with 2 entry ports. That's gonna go up top somewhere around this area, probably like right about here, and then drop my 2 PV wires down into it. I want it to have like as straight a shot as possible to the rest of my system. So system's gonna be right around this area. So I'm just gonna put it like right there on the roof somewhere. And I think it's gonna end up being underneath one of the panels, which is probably a good thing. All right, so I'm gonna start with a small hole, kind of right about here or here, honestly, just so I can drop the wire down straight behind all my framing. Actually, I already have an existing hole right here from the actual bus itself that is built that way. I don't know why, but I think I'm just gonna boop right there by this rib so I can drop the wire straight down. I don't know. I'm just doing it, man. Initial hole has been drilled to the roof. I don't know if you can see that, but oh my God. Let's try that again. My hole might not be the prettiest hole, but my hole is big enough. I'm gonna clean it up with something. I don't really know. Maybe like a deburring bit or maybe like some sandpaper. I don't know. I'll go find something. 60 grit. A device has been crafted. Let's see how it works. You know what? Maybe that's all I need right there. All right, it's starting to rain. I better get this thing on there. I'm gonna use some of that marine sealant that I used to seal up the brackets. I still have it in this caulking gun. This thing has been open for like a week and a half at this point, but you know, you just take that little natural plug, it makes itself out, and your sealant's good as new. Let's get up there. All right, we're gonna start by putting a little sauce on the edge here. Just a little sauce. Nice. All right, insert our thing into place there. Press it down nice and ferociously. Very good. Hey, it's future me here. My camera decided to cut out after that clip that you just saw, so I didn't get any of the following footage. So since I've finished it all, I'll just show you the finished product and walk you through it. Back up on the roof. Okay, panels are still looking not broken, very wet. Here's where we landed. So the sealant has had more than enough time to cure. Hopefully the light's okay that you can see. I shot a few stainless steel screws in here just to give it a little more bite, but honestly I think just the sealant would have done the trick. And for right now, since it's, you know, actually for the last week or so it hasn't been raining, but I put a Ziploc baggie just to protect, you know, anything that is not mated together, like these connectors. I don't want water to get down into them. And you guys already saw the long extensions here. I still have them all tucked underneath the panels until I'm ready to connect those. But let me go down and show you the entry wires. Basically, I have 3 panels wired up in series there, 3 panels wired up in series here, and I bring those 2 series together in parallel. and drop them into the bus there. The reason I did it that way, I'll go over in another video, breaking down, you know, the differences between wiring in series versus wiring in parallel, how they change, how the energy that you're producing is delivered to your system based on which way you go, and why I chose to do it the way that I did. So that's going to be a whole separate video because it's a little bit conceptual, but I'll be posting that shortly after this one. All right, and coming down into the bus, I'll show you where my wires are coming through. So right here, just to give you a little lay of the land, that's in a future video, make sure you watch that one. But these are where my entry wires are coming through. I haven't had any leaks yet, and we've had some pretty serious rain since I put this on, so I don't think this thing is going to have any trouble with leaks. And I just put some temporary conduit over that was left over from when I did my wire detox on the bus, just, you know, to keep this from potentially chafing against this, even though it's not going to be moving. But as you can see, since even though I had all those wires up there all mixed together, I ended up with 2 wires, a positive and a negative, coming down, and they're ready to be wired into whatever's next, which will be the DC isolator switch, and then the MPPT charge controller, and then the rest of the components, which are all gonna live right about here. And that's about it. Sorry I didn't get the last few minutes of footage on there. I have since upgraded to a designated GoPro camera, which I'm filming on right now because I was sick and tired of those phones dying or the storage getting full or whatever else. So shouldn't be happening any longer. And like I just said, I will be making a separate video going over conceptually why I decided to wire the way I did and the different kind of ways you can wire your solar panels. Hopefully it is helpful for some people out there. I know that the information that I'm going to go over in that video would have been extremely helpful to me starting out with absolutely no knowledge of any of this stuff, so hopefully some of you will find that helpful too. But until then, that is how I wired up my solar panels on the roof of my school bus conversion, and I will see you in the next one.